The wind swept through the quiet village just before dawn, carrying with it a strange hush that made even the birds pause. Effia stood at the edge of the river, staring at the water as though it held a secret meant only for her. She didn't know why she woke in so early or why her feet had brought her there, but something in the river's gentle movement called to her. The surface shimmered under the faint morning light, moving in a way that felt almost alive. Effia's breath hitched. She should have turned back, but instead, she stepped closer, drawn as though the water whispered her name. The river had always frightened her, in a quiet, private way. The elders spoke often about the spirit that lived beneath its calm surface, ancient guardians who blessed the respectful and punished the proud. Effie had laughed at such stories once, thinking herself too wise to fear what she couldn't see. But standing there, with mist curling around her ankles and the water glowing faintly, she felt something shift inside her. A soft ripple spread across the surface, moving toward her like a quiet invitation. She reached out, as if pulled by a force she couldn't name. A cold chill ran through her fingers the moment they touched the water. It didn't feel like ordinary river water. It felt aware, alive. Effia yanked her hand back, heart pounding, but she couldn't shake the sensation. It felt like the beginning of something she was not ready to face. She turned quickly and hurried back toward the village, telling herself it was just her imagination. But the river's whisper stayed with her, lingering in her mind long after she left its edge. When she reached home, the sun had begun to rise. Her mother called her inside, her voice warm with concern as always. But Effia barely heard her. Her thoughts remained tangled with the river, filled with an uneasiness she could not explain. She didn't know it yet, but the moment she touched that water, her life had begun shifting toward a path she couldn't escape, one that led straight into the heart of a spirit's world. Effia walked later that morning to the rhythm of village life. Women pounding fufu, children chasing each other, men sharpening tools for the day's work. Everything looked normal, but Effia felt anything but. She kept glancing toward the river, unable to forget the strange pull she had felt earlier. Her mother noticed the distracted look on her face and frowned. "Effia, are you well?" she asked gently. Effia nodded quickly, not wanting to explain what she barely understood herself. Yet deep inside, she knew that whatever touched her at the river had awakened something she could not ignore. She finished her chores with restless energy, trying to push the memory aside. But each time she tried to focus on something else, the river's whisper returned, brushing against her mind like a shadow. When she went to fetch water later in the day, she hesitated at the riverbank. The water looked ordinary now, calm, familiar, but Effia felt uneasy. She knelt and dipped her gourd into the river, careful not to touch it directly. Still, she felt watched, as if the river knew she was there. While she filled her gourd, a soft glimmer caught her eye. Something shiny lay among the reeds, something shaped like a beautifully carved comb made of a silver-like material she had never seen. Her breath caught. It was too fine to belong to any villager. Curiosity tugged at her, strong and insistent. She reached for it slowly, feeling drawn to its beauty, its impossible perfection. When her fingers finally wrapped around it, the river rippled in a sudden, quiet shiver. Effia froze. She looked around, but no one else was nearby. No explanation for the ripple. She tucked the comb into her cloth hurriedly, pretending her heart wasn't racing. She told herself it meant nothing, just something someone dropped, just a bit of luck. But she felt the river watching her as she walked away, and she knew deep down that she had taken something she was never meant to touch. That night, she couldn't sleep. Each time she closed her eyes, she felt the coldness of the river, the strange weight of the comb, and the unsettling sense that something ancient had taken notice of her. The next morning, Effia found herself studying the comb again. Sunlight streamed through their small window, catching on its beautiful carvings, tiny weaves and spirals that seemed almost to move when she tilted it. She wanted to put it away, to forget it, yet she couldn't bring herself to let it go. Her mother's voice drifted from outside, calling her to help with washing, but Effia slipped the comb into her cloth again before stepping out. A strange mix of excitement and fear pulsed through her. The villagers gathered near the square that morning to prepare for an upcoming festival. Effia joined her friends, but she felt out of place, distracted. Every time someone glanced her way, she wondered if they sensed the forbidden object hidden on her. Her friend Amma nudged her playfully, noticing her distant gaze. "Effia, what is wrong with you today?" she teased. Effia forced a smile, but she didn't answer. How could she explain a secret she herself didn't understand? Soon, the elders arrived to bless the festival preparations. They carried calabashes filled with herbs, chanting softly. Elder Kweku, the oldest among them, paused mid-chant and looked directly at Effia. His eyes narrowed, studying her with unsettling intensity. Effia felt her entire body stiffen. She lowered her gaze, hoping he would turn away. Instead, he lifted his chin slightly, as though sensing something clinging to her spirit. "Respect the river," he said loudly to the group. "Do not take what does not belong to you. Its guardians do not forget." The crowd murmured in agreement. Effia's heart hammered. She felt certain his words were meant for her. Her palms grew sweaty around the fabric where the comb was hidden. She told herself she was imagining it. Surely he couldn't know. Surely no one could. When the gathering ended, she walked quickly away, trying to calm her racing thoughts. But as she reached the river path, a sudden gust of wind blew through the trees, sending leaves swirling around her. She felt the air tighten, felt the river whisper again, this time louder, more insistent. Something inside her trembled with fear. Something had begun. The villagers watched in stunned silence as the riverbank trembled again, but this time it was gentler, almost like a sigh. Effia felt the air shift, warm and soft, brushing against her skin like a familiar hand. She didn't know why, but she felt no fear. Instead, she felt a strange calmness, as if someone she once loved dearly had returned to stand beside her. The elders stepped forward cautiously, their faces still tense, their staffs raised. No one knew what would emerge from the water, and even the bravest among them kept their distance. Effia, however, remained rooted where she stood, her breath steady, her eyes fixed on the rippling surface. She could sense something ancient, something patient, something that had been waiting. A swell formed at the center of the river, glowing faintly like a piece of moon trapped beneath the surface. The water folded inward, rising and twisting until a tall figure slowly took shape. It wasn't fully human nor fully spirit, but something in between, fluid like the river yet solid enough to cast a shadow on the ground. Its eyes shimmered with depth, carrying 1,000 seasons of stories. Within them, gasps rippled through the crowd. Some villagers fell to their knees whispering hurried prayers. Others backed away, afraid of what the spirit might do after all that had happened. But the spirit didn't look at them. It looked at Effia, and Effia, without understanding how she knew, felt the truth settle into her heart. The spirit had come for her, not to claim her, but to remind her. The air grew warmer still, wrapping around her like the memory of a promise whispered long ago. The spirit lifted a hand, and a soft hum filled the air, vibrating through the ground, through the river, and even through the villagers' bones. It wasn't threatening, it was sorrowful. Effia took a single step forward. The elders shouted for her to stop, but their voices sounded distant, muffled.
Every instinct inside her pulled her closer, not out of blind courage, but because she felt deeply that she wasn't in danger. She felt seen, chosen, remembered. The spirit's voice, when they finally spoke, was gentle, like water flowing over smooth stones. Daughter of the river's path, you have walked far from the truth of your lineage. Ifya's breath caught. The villagers stared at her in shock. She didn't move, didn't blink. She simply listened, heart thundering inside her chest. The spirit stepped closer, its form clearer now, its presence no longer heavy but strangely comforting. It continued. You were never meant to be taken, you were meant to awaken. The river behind the spirit glowed brighter, reflecting light onto Ifya's face.